Hi there, my name is Dai Matsuzaka, and today I have a precious opportunity to interview Ms.Trudy Govier, a chairperson of Ploughshares Calgary Society. Trudy was a philosophy professor in the University of Lethbridge. I cannot wait to hear what she has to offer to share regarding peace and nuclear weapons in the world today. Hi, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. My name is Dai. Thank you for your time to attend this interview session. I'm going to be your interviewer today to ask you about peace, and more specifically, a path to build a peaceful world free from nuclear weapons. Right before we begin, I was wondering if you would want to introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, within philosophy, I've been interested in a number of things related to back and forth arguments, dialogue, conflict resolution. I've been interested in logic and also in social philosophy. And I feel I've really learned a lot by participating in peace groups over the past many years.
I see, wow, that's a wide array of subjects to take on.
Well, I guess it is, but sometimes when you study different things, they kind of overlap with each other in useful ways.
Right, right. I understand. Wow, that's amazing. All right. So now that we know a little bit about you and what you do, we shall jump into questions. So to begin with, I would like to ask you, well, you see, the Lantern Ceremony group, we've been partnering and with Ploughshares for the past years. And so if I may be so bold to ask, what and who exactly is Ploughshares Calgary Society?
Well, the Ploughshares Calgary Society is a group registered in Alberta as a nonprofit society. We're descended from another group, Project Ploughshares Calgary. That group was founded in 1982, and some of the original members, of whom I am one, are still working with the group.
Right.
We're feeling the years a bit, so we're very interested in having participation by younger people. Well, lots of people, but especially younger ones. So it's nice to see a smiling young face out there, even though it's not in person, it's just on Zoom. So I have not always been active in the group in those years because when I was teaching in Lethbridge, obviously I wasn't in Calgary, so I wasn't active with the group. But some of the original members are still working hard for it.
Right.
And I'm working hard again.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank
So
you.
our goal is to interest people in topics of peace and in particular nuclear disarmament. But because any conflict that turns into a violent war has very negative effects on the environment and has some potential for use of nuclear weapons even, our interests are very general. And not only do they include nuclear weapons and nuclear disarmament efforts, but also nonviolence, conflict resolution, arms trading, and many related topics. So we have meetings and we've sponsored conferences and workshops. We've attended demonstrations. We've done some research, done letter writing campaigns and many activities actually ever since 1982.
Wow.
So that's a long time.
That is a very long time. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Right. I love the sentiment about the purpose of Plowshares, right? The goal, the disarmament and peace. And oh, thank you so much for sharing what Plowshares is. And now that we know a little bit about Plowshares, this is a little bit more logistical, but I'm going to ask you which specific countries have nuclear weapons?
Well, more than you perhaps think. Russia and the United States, China, Britain, France, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea.
Wow,
So
that's
that's many countries.
yeah, no kidding. I always had maybe because of the Cold War, it was had in my head that it was mainly just the U.S. and Russia, but there's much more than now, I guess, in this modern day.
Well, even in the 1950s and 60s, China, Britain, and France were already nuclear powers. Then
Oh,
India and Pakistan came later. North Korea is quite recent. Israel has actually had nuclear weapons since the late 80s, but for a long time they did not admit it, and a lot of people kind of went along with that. So it was a controversial fact. I
I
gather
see.
now it is accepted Israel does have nuclear weapons.
Oh, I see, I see. So it's quite complicated then. Um, right, and this kind of leads into this next question. Um, and this is about the disarmament of nuclear weapons, but some people say that the genie's out of the bottle and you can eliminate nuclear weapons if the know-how still exists. Does this hold true in your beliefs, or what do you think?
Well, I think in principle they could be eliminated. There are very sophisticated production problems in getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, a terrorist group couldn't just sort of get together and in a few months make one.
Mhm.
There are complications with regarding the material, the parts, and so on. And I think it's a matter of people understanding how dangerous these weapons are. Even
Right.
a limited use or an accident could produce very great damage. For example, you could have what's called a nuclear winter, a cloud of heavy smoke in the atmosphere for a long time, resulting in the possible starvation of billions of people. So, I mean, this isn't a minor detail, right?
Ah,
It's a very
right.
serious problem.
Hmm. Right. Thank you for that. Wow. I've known and studied a little bit about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? But
Right.
I'm guessing that the nuclear weapons now are much more powerful and more deadlier than they were before.
Well, yes, many of them are. And the
Uh-huh.
other thing is that when people talk about the modernization of nuclear weapons, often the things that are being developed are very negative. For instance, if they move faster and have a very short launch time, that
Mhm.
leaves a lesser role for human judgment in whether to use the weapon or not. And that's hazardous because if you have a signal that is misinterpreted, for instance, some sunlight on dust might be misinterpreted as something else. You
Right.
actually do want to have a human being who has time to think that over and has careful instructions about what is going on. So the
Mhm.
so-called modernization is with regard to launch times and speed and other technology and also the power of the weapon is not necessarily a positive thing. Normally we think of modernization as a good thing, but in
Mhm.
this case, I think that would be a mistake.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Now, oh, and right before we get into the next question, which is directly how we deal with these nuclear weapons that are modernized, but I've just got a little request from the inspector to, if you could look into the camera of your computer, if that's possible. So I think it'd be a little bit higher than what you're looking at right now.
Yes, above your head.
Yes,
That's
that's much
better?
better. Yes, much
Okay,
better. Thank you.
sorry about
Thank you.
that.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for that. Oh, awesome. Okay. So now, yes, we're gonna continue on. So this question is really about what we can do as individuals, right? What because these are world powers that have these nuclear weapons, these modernized, deadly armory, and so what is it that we can do to get rid of these nuclear weapons?
Well, this is a real challenge.
Mhm.
And it's difficult. I mean, there are some very smart people who've been working on this for a long time and they have not yet succeeded. We do
Mhm.
have to remember, though, that in the 1980s, the total number of nuclear weapons in the world was between 60 and 70,000, and it's now 13,400 by the last count I saw. So the numbers are down. There also are countries that did have nuclear weapons that have decided not to have them anymore. Some of these include I think Belarus, Kazakhstan, South Africa, and a number more. There are different reasons for those decisions, obviously, in each case. But as to a young person, what I can say is there are action groups that really need young strength. They need young energy, they need young minds, they need young speakers, young informed people. We have the Canadian Network for the Abolition of Nuclear Weapons, for instance. We have Pugwash in Canada. There are ground zero movements. There's a movement called ICAN, which is an international campaign for the abolition of nuclear weapons. They have succeeded in getting a treaty, which has been signed by, I think, 50 some countries. Needs a few more signatures to go into force. So there is public pressure against these weapons. Now, for many people, it's a lesser topic right now than climate change, but the two are related, and they both relate to environmental catastrophe.
Mhm.
And I think young people who have a future to live on this planet of ours will wish to do what they can to prevent that. This should be part of the campaign.
Right. Right. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. I believe that as well because it's about the movement from down under, right? It's the people, individuals, and the young individuals that support these movements, these groups that's been fighting for this cause for so many years, right?
Well, these
And
groups have succeeded in doing many good things, and they need to succeed some more, and they need
yes,
help from people like yourself.
absolutely. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best, and it's interesting to meet you, even though it's only on a screen.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. Well, I'm just astonished by your stance. So just thank you so much for sharing those words. Um, Next up, I don't know what this is, but the questions here, it says something about your Nuggets project. Could you explain what
Oh,
that
the
is?
nuggets. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of a desire I have to engage more young people in peace causes. And we got actually, believe it or not, we did get a modest grant for a summer employee from the government. And she is a senior communications student. And she and I and some of the members of our board are working together. We're producing scripts which we want to turn into videos. What's that mean?
That's Shinobu.
I think you're okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're producing these scripts on various problems, militarism and climate change,
Right.
nonviolent action, nuclear weapons and the challenges of nuclear disarmament, peacekeeping, and other related topics. And what we will have is we will have some visuals, we will have a narrator or a variety of narrators, hopefully variety of ages and variety of ethnicities, and they will convey basic information about some of these topics in maybe 800 or 1,000 words, or let's say a couple of minutes. And the idea is to get these things on social media and have people thinking about peace issues, whether they come to Ploughshares, whether they join a national group, whether they write a letter, whatever they do. The issue is to just get the peace topics out there because we feel that they often don't get enough attention. It's sort of the backdrop to everything else. I mean, even if you think of a vaccination campaign, if you have a big war, it's going to be hard to pull that off, right? Ditto with disarmament, ditto with other health campaigns, with environmental campaigns, and so on. These presuppose a reasonably peaceful world. And if we don't have that, it will be extremely difficult to do anything else. So we want to bring put those topics out there. And the reason I'm calling these things nuggets is just that they're going to be small and short. And that was the best word that I was able to come up with. I got the people putting on pop-up concerts. And so I thought we could have pop-up peace items, right?
Right.
That was where it came from.
Oh, that's genius. I love that. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that with me and this interview. There's going to be a lot of people that come here on the website and that will be exposed to your Nuggets project. And wow, that's inspiring. Thank you for that. Again, let me really show my gratitude for joining us today on this interview. It really helps. It's that one step to make that change yet again. And so before we close, I just have one more question for you. And the question, well, it's less a question, more so I'm going to ask for you to, if you had any, give your advice to the young generations like me who wish to contribute to build a peaceful society and world free from nuclear weapons.
Oh, my advice? Well, I guess what I said earlier is to, you can't do this alone. So, I mean, you better join a worthwhile group, research them, find out which group you'd like to join. And also there are local things. I mean, it may be frustrating to join a national or international group and the other people are far away and so on. So look into local prospects. Look into the topic of nonviolence and what's called unarmed civilian accompaniment. This is a matter of initiatives that you can sometimes take as an individual in your own community, trying to prevent violent conflicts, prevent indeed intense conflicts. So I think, it takes some study and thought, and I would, different people have different capacities and different interests, but I think a person could find something with a lot of effort.
Right. Thank you. Right. Of course, you're right. The take on initiative, right? We have to take that action today. Right. No, I loved your advice. Thank you for that so much, because I guess at the end of the day, it's dependent on us as individuals for us to take that initiative, right? And well, thank you for sharing those wise words and your wisdom and your insight into these topics of peace and nuclear weapons and disarmament. And again,
well, I hope I'll meet you again sometime. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for joining us and having this interview today. And I think this marks the end of this interview session. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you are, like me, inspired by Trudy and her words. Now, in our Peace Memorial Week, there are many other wonderful online events lined up. So please come visit our website again at www.calgaryfloatinglanterns.com. Thank you again for watching this video. Bye now.